What is going on, everybody? This is D and Brad, back again with the Spoiler Alert Network. We are back with another top 5 discussion video, the series where we pick a topic and discuss our top 5 picks. Still in the realm of video games, this time we're doing console exclusives, which is any video game title from any of Sony or Microsoft's home consoles, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo is included as well. So with no further rambling, we're gonna jump right into it with our number 5, and I guess I'll start it off again. My number 5 pick for favorite console exclusive video game is Twisted Metal on the PlayStation 1. Basically, the Twisted Metal series in general is you get to pick a specific character and you're driving a car that is decked out in machine guns, rocket launchers, and so many different crazy weapons. So it's basically, you know, vehicular combat. And you're thrown into a contest where you're fighting against other contestants to basically be the last one alive. And if you win this contest, then you get any one wish granted that your heart desires. So basically this was very different than any other like vehicle racing game that I had ever experienced. I was used to playing, you know, Mario Kart and other family-friendly titles like that, where you're throwing random items at your competitors, but no, you're just straight up murdering them with machine guns and rockets and mines, and it was a very fun experience, as dark as a theme as it actually is. So that's my number 5 console exclusive. Showtime?
Did you ever, Twisted Metal is not a game that I played a whole lot, but did you ever play a game for the N64 called Vigilante 8?
Oh, yeah, yep.
Okay.
That almost made my list.
It almost made my N64 list also, but it didn't. Anyway, my number 5 is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I had never played any Zelda games before this, but I played Breath of the Wild when I got the Switch, and it was just it was an experience.
You picked a hell of a game in the series to start with, essentially.
Right, yeah.
That one's it's a task.
Yeah. You said it was hard in that other video that we did. I didn't really perceive it as hard. I feel like you probably just like ran straight to Ganon.
Yeah, that's because I literally found Ganon after after the game started up. I was like, I wonder what the limits are, and then I was like, this is the in-game boss. So I got fucking bodied.
I believe that. I enjoyed Breath of the Wild and like more than I expected to. Like when you look at it from the outside perspective with the art style, it looks like a game for kids. When you start playing it and you see how deep the mechanics are for the game, the crafting and the potions and the food and like they have like a weapon degradation system and all that crazy stuff, and you gotta like manage your stamina, and it's just wild. Breath of the Wild, see what I did there? It's wild how much content they could fit into this game. And you could wake up from hypersleep or whatever in the cave and just go straight to fighting Ganon. If you wanted to, I mean, you'd die. You certainly wouldn't survive, but you could. But the way that the game is paced is like, at any point when you think you're strong enough, you could just go fight the boss. And it's not really not recommended to do that until you're much further along in the game. But the entire game is like, some of the gameplay aspects reminded me of like Red Dead Redemption. I don't know why, but it did, and I just had that vibe while playing it.
I actually mentioned that because the first time I seen it, somebody playing it before I ever tried it out, that's kind of what I compared it to.
Like not most of the gameplay mechanics, like the combat's different and all that, but I don't know, like maybe it's just the horseback riding. Yes. That could be it, but I don't know. I just felt like it was similar to Red Dead while playing it, and it was a very good experience. I really enjoyed that game a lot. What do you got for number 5, bud?
So I actually almost sabotaged myself because I was sitting here. I was like, man, the last list that I formatted went 5-1, and this one goes 5-1 the other way. So I almost said my number 1, and I was like, I'm a dumb bitch.
Yeah, you are.
So my number 5 is actually a series conglomerate. Like, it's an entire series because I can't differentiate between any of the games. I never beat any of them, but I played all of them. The Gears of War games on Xbox. Because I don't think I ever beat a single one. I don't remember which one I ended at, but I played all of them a lot, and they were just super fun because it was all big, burly dudes fighting big alien shit with the most over-the-top gun. Your guns had a chainsaw on the end of them.
The Lancer.
Yeah, it was wild. I don't remember much of what happened in the games. I remember just like spraying, praying. There's like flashing. Like, it's a good thing I don't have epilepsy because there was flashing lights and loud noises and aliens and things dying and curse words everywhere. But like, as a young adult male, it boosted my testosterone so much. I was like, I feel powerful. So I didn't play much of them because I never owned an Xbox. The Xbox I played was at my grandparents' house whenever I went to visit them. So like, I'm sure that if I had an Xbox, I would have dedicated significant time to the Gears games, and I'd have a favorite from the series, but it was just kind of a get my hands on whatever one my uncle had at the time when I'd go visit my grandparents, which is why it's number 5 and why the whole series is on my list.
Gears 3 was the answer. Gears 3 is the best.
Yeah.
It should have ended at Gears 3 when the war ended, but sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say someone said the same thing before, and I was like, wait a minute, it's you. You've told me this before. So
Gears of War was a fantastic series that should have ended at 3.
Brad, what's your number 4?
Okay, so my number 4 is Halo 2 on the Xbox. So I think it's actually a matter of debate whether Halo 2 or Halo 3 is the best Halo game in the series. Which one's better, I'm not sure. But to me, the Halo 2 and 3 are the two definitive ones, but if I had to pick one, it'd probably be Halo 2, because I feel like I have more memories with that one, with the multiplayer and the storyline, and I feel like the story mode was almost better. It's been a long time since I played Halo, but for a console exclusive, it's one of the most iconic and most familiar. You're basically playing as a space super soldier, shooting aliens. I mean, what's cooler than that? And then you can get online and fight alongside your friends or fight random people in team deathmatch and capture the flag. And I mean, who didn't have fun when they played Halo?
It seemed like the online play was one of two. There was no gray area. It went one of two ways. You met friends for life or the most toxic people you've ever seen you've ever met.
Mostly the toxic ones, but yeah.
No, Halo Online was something else. Like that. As young humans, we probably shouldn't have been subjected to.
Like I said, I have not played Halo in a very long time. I never owned an Xbox. It was only when I would have a birthday party or something, and some of my friends would bring their games over and brought their Xbox. So that's really the extent of my memories. But that being said, it was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had with video games and first-person shooters in general. So that's why it made my list. Showtime.
My number 4 is God of War 3. And this was really the whole series of God of War tells the tale of Kratos battling all of the gods, just going through and killing them because of his horrible life. It's just a fantastic story. God of War 1, 2, and 3 are one of the reasons why I bought a PlayStation 3. The story that is told throughout those games is just an epic tale, I guess. Like there's no exaggeration there. The whole story is just gets wilder and wilder with every god that he kills. And like ripping off Medusa's head and using it as a weapon. Just every little battle in the game just feels so cinematic, and God of War is one of the games that really pioneered using QuickTime events to like an extreme degree. So like boss battles sometimes are just not a thing. You just do the QuickTime events. Just the whole game is very cinematic and tells a fantastic story from beginning to end. Words are escaping me on how fantastic God of War is. Oh, yawn about it, that's fine.
No.
Sorry I'm boring you. God of War following the story of Kratos from the beginning to the end, but God of War 3 being the most recent entry in the series that I've played with the most graphical spectacularness, is the most cinematic that I've played. So that's why I consider that one to be on my list instead of the first one or the second one. What do you got?
My number 3.
Number 4.
Scared you. I was just trying to scare you. Shut up. My number 4 is Spider-Man, the first one on PS4.
The first Spider-Man on PS4?
Yeah. Anyways, my number 4 is Marvel's Spider-Man on the PS4. This game was incredible. I remember Anyway, I remember I would get on, and I think the first playthrough that I spent on this game was just the most hours, all of the hours, literally infinite. But I think like at least 60 of them were spent super stoned, swinging through the streets of New York, just because it was so scenic. And I would do all kinds of flips and all kinds of just random dumb shit, and it was soothing. But the combat was super cool. The boss fights were really cool. The story was really cool. All the miscellaneous stuff, that was my favorite thing to do. The backpack tokens, taking pictures of landmarks, all that stuff. Like, it was just, there was so much to do in this game. I didn't think I'd ever finish it. And then I did finish it, and then I sold my console in a manic phase. And then I bought another one, and I got it again, and then I never finished it that time. And then I gave it to this guy, and he didn't finish it because I took it back. And then I sold my PC in another manic phase, so he's never going to finish it.
Never.
So I desire to play Miles Morales, but I'm afraid that if I buy it, I'm going to sell my PS5. So it'll probably never happen. So, Brad, what's your number 3?
Okay, so my number 3, the Infamous series was a PlayStation console exclusive. Now, more specifically, Infamous 2 was probably my favorite in the series on the PS3. So basically, it continued the story from the first game where you play as Cole McGrath, who was like a bike messenger who got caught in a nuke, basically, and got superpowers based on electricity. So the reason I prefer Infamous 2 is it's kind of got a deeper story, and I mean, it picks up basically right after the first one, and if you have save data from the first game, like your power sets and stuff like that carries over into the beginning of the first chapter of the game, actually. Which, yeah, it was a cool little feature. It's one of the few games that had done that at the time, besides like Mass Effect or something, obviously. But and then on top of the powers of electricity, and of course the karma system, where you can choose to be good or evil or what have you with your powers. I keep saying what have you.
Get it, Dad?
Are you winning, son?
Vocabulary.
You also unlock new elements of powers, like powers of ice, and there was a bunch. And of course, they improved the combat systems. You now had the amp or whatever they called it, like the big stick. You could design your own level, put random enemies in, set a goal for the game, and post it online to the PlayStation Network or whatever, and other players could play the map that you built.
I'm just curious, Brad. At Showtime, I don't know how much you played the Infamous games.
You never played the second one. This all sounds
fair.
absurd.
So this will be more for you. Like, did you play both as good and evil? Like, did you do a couple playthroughs?
Yeah, so the first time I went straight good, and then the second time I tried to go just all out evil, and then at one point I started feeling bad because you'd get a phone call from Zeke, and he's like, it's like, hey man, you haven't been looking so good lately. Are you feeling okay? I'm like, oh, I'm a
Do you feel like the difficulty of the game changed based off those paths? Like, it was harder to be a good guy than it was a villain? I feel like that's something that I thought was cool. Is it, like, not to get off on a tangent, but kind of like Vampire, but like with Infamous 2.
Did you play Vampire?
Yeah. Yeah, but like if you could choose to be either, good or evil, and if you chose evil, the game seems so much simpler.
It is so easy.
Because you just up everything. But as having
and you just don't care.
Exactly, having morality and character and a good heart as a good guy, it felt like tasks in the game were easier because it's like, oh, I have to work so much harder to save these civilians or defeat the enemy with the least amount of collateral damage. But as a villain, you're just like, there's a bad guy in a building full of 2,000 people, nuke it. No.
So that being said, we kind of went on a tangent, but that is my number 3 on my favorite console exclusive games, Infamous 2. Showtime?
Okay, my number 3 is Ratchet and Clank from the PlayStation 2 days. So this game and the series in general, Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal and Going Commando, and there's probably more of them with innuendo titles that I don't remember. But the first one was my first introduction to everybody's first introduction to these characters. Ratchet, this little Lombax, which is a fake thing. And he is a little mechanic, right? He's got a wrench and he whacks stuff with it, right? And this like little robot that was designed for evil, right? Clank was a little robot that was designed for evil.
He was a defect.
Yeah, and he's
Much
got
like me.
Yeah, same. So Dirt Sheet over here is just like little Clank, and he's stuck being good, even though he's meant to be evil. And it just shows it's not how you were made; it's what you do with it.
And he has time control powers.
That was a thing later on that I didn't experience. But anyway, first game introduced you to these characters that are they're so adorable and they're so likable, and like the story is just a little quirky and fun. And you see what I did there? Quark. Remember Quark?
Oh god. You're on it with these zingers, buddy.
Yeah, on it. So it's just a fun little story where he's like looking up to like his hero, Captain Quark or whatever, and then he finds out that he's like a piece of shit. He's a coward.
Yep.
Right? Regardless. So just the story of these little misfit characters that like just find their way to each other and explore the galaxy together with just tons of weapons. That was like the big thing about Ratchet and Clank. It's just there was so many guns that just do so many unbelievable things. Like the Rhino, wasn't that on your list of top 5 RPGs?
Yeah.
The Rhino from Ratchet and Clank. It was a very fun game. Very fun to just play with all the crazy weapons, upgrade them, all that crazy stuff. What do you got?
My number 3 is Mario Kart Double Dash on the GameCube.
It's a fair pick.
So, but Mario Kart Double Dash, by far my favorite Mario Kart to ever Mario Kart in the history of Mario Karting. I think I hadn't played a lot of them before this one, but I think this was the first one where you could have 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
you could have you had a character driving and then you had a character in the back.
Hence why it's called Double Dash.
Shut the but you could switch them in and out, so like you could hold multiple items. It was just super cool. I remember the tracks being super cool. The graphics, like at the time for me, were like, oh my god, mind blowing. And it's just, I put a lot of time into this game, and it was super cool. And then actually, whenever I became an adult and I was, had money to spend, the first thing I did was get a GameCube and get Double Dash, and then I never played it. So I forgot to get a controller, and those are vital to having just playing a GameCube. So, how have I made it this far? But yeah, Mario Kart Double Dash, favorite Mario Kart by far. That's why it's my number 3 on exclusives. All right, Brad, what you got for number 2?
So my number 2 is a Nintendo exclusive, and it's been mentioned already. That is Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild for the Switch / Wii U, whatever.
Was it on the Wii U?
I think it might have been.
Oh my god.
So like he already said, this was a massive open world Legend of Zelda game where you could do pretty much anything from the get-go. It had an excellent crafting system. The weapon degradation system was a huge part of it, and it made it difficult to survive in the early game if you didn't take the right steps.
I think the game made it difficult to survive in the early game.
We clarified that you f***ed up.
I'm just sipping on my dum-dum juice.
Taking a large sip of dumb juice over there.
And on top of that, with this massive world, you had multiple different climates, so what you were wearing basically made a difference. So if you're in a very hot, in a very hot area of the map and you're wearing like heavy clothes, you're gonna freaking have a heat stroke, yeah. And if you go into the wintry part of the map, if you're not wearing winter clothing, you're gonna freeze to death. Pretty much everything you do mattered, and crafting was important. What type of gear you had was important. Making sure your weapons were in good condition. The combat, the story, it was all just amazing. It was a very revolutionary title that came out in an already revolutionary series.
Adding to that other stuff, you couldn't use metal weapons or metal armor during a lightning storm because you would get struck by lightning. And crafting went hand in hand with the climate because you can craft some food that would keep your body temperature up or down depending on where you were.
What is your number 2?
My number 2 is also a Nintendo exclusive. It is Super Mario Odyssey.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
So this is a game. So Super Mario Odyssey was released with the Switch, and it really showed off what the Switch was capable of with the different control styles, where you could have they're not called nunchucks, Joy-Cons. The Joy-Cons, like if you like shake them, they do stuff, and you could like have one controller be Mario and one controller be Cappy, and play together with somebody else like that, or just play one controller, just the controller slider get you. I don't know what the it's called. Or you can just play with two controllers in each hand, or one controller in each hand.
That was wild.
And then you could put it on your fucking TV and play it like that, or you just play it on the Switch, take it with you. So the story of Super Mario Odyssey follows, of course, Peach getting kidnapped and forced into marrying Bowser, and Mario has to go and stop that wedding. And it's pretty simple, pretty simple story, like always, that Mario's been doing for 30 years at this point. But it's not a bad story, I don't think. I really enjoyed the story, and you get to see a lot of different planets, because you're in a spaceship, and you go off on an odyssey through the galaxy, and you go to different planets. There's a jungle planet, there's a city planet, there's all kinds of crazy shit. And you play as Mario through all these platforming levels, and a lot like I've said previously about Super Mario 64, the difficulty curve is very gradual. And it gets to the point at the end of the game where the very, very last thing you do in the game, which is called, the Dark Side of the Moon 2, right?
Yeah.
That level is absurd. I don't know if... It's just the hardest thing I've ever played in a video game, in my opinion. And it's just insane. Like, you gotta do so much crazy with very few checkpoints in between, which means if you fail, you gotta go way back. Like, there might not even be a checkpoint in the level.
It was such a pain in the ass.
It might go all the way back to the beginning of the level. I might be remembering that wrong, I'm not sure. But at the end of the level, you get the little thank you message from Nintendo, and it's all great, and just makes you feel good. Super Mario Odyssey is a fantastic game. For a while there, it was my favorite game until I played through Super Mario 64 again. But, yeah, that's my number 2. What do you got, bud?
That's a super solid pick. For
Super
2.
solid.
I feel like we have some super solid picks across the board.
I feel like I'm a super solid guy.
Super solid. You're a super solid guy.
Super girthy.
So, my number 2.
Sorry.
My number dos. The one before one, the number before. My number 2 is actually, it's another one where I had to pick a collective series because I didn't have access to it as much. It's the Halo series. If I had to pick, probably Halo 3, because that's the one I remember being the best pure game from the ones that I played. But honestly, if you were to put me in a room and take away the title screen, aside from the graphics improving with each game, I probably couldn't tell a lot of them apart. I don't remember completing any again, but I would go over to my grandma's house and I would play Halo so much. I would play online, I'd play with my uncle, I'd play with my brothers. It was just so much fun. I remember battling the Flood was super cool. I remember having favorite the shotgun, the pump action shotgun was one of my favorite weapons. The gravity hammer was insane. I loved it, even though it was the most inefficient weapon in the entire game. I had a lot of fun playing it, and even the little mini games that you would play, the capture the flag or whatever, the one has the ball or whatever, and it's like football, but you're killing each other with alien tech.
Oh, Blitzball.
Yeah, that's it.
That was Final Fantasy. I was making that up.
You turd. The confidence, the audacity. But anyways, I had a lot of fun, and I spent a lot of time playing Halo and killing aliens and killing other people online. Not real people. They've never murdered anybody, but
that you know of.
We're off topic. Wheels are falling off again. Training wheels back on. Halo, the entire series, my number 2.
Such a cop-out.
You're a cop-out.
Say Halo 3. Say Halo 3.
Halo Reach.
Wow.
Did you hear that? That's people unsubscribing. But no, I had bought the Halo Legendary Collection on PC. Don't have a PC anymore, unfortunately, so I doubt I'll ever get to play the games ever again and sit down and actually experience them in the way that I want to. But I have very fond memories of playing Halo on the 360 whenever I was a wee lad. I was a wee lad, Brad. What's your number 1?
So my number one is Marvel's Spider-Man for PS4. So I'm a huge fan of anything to do with Marvel and superheroes in general. So the opening cutscene of him listening to his police scanner and then suiting up as Spider-Man, jumping out the window of his apartment, swinging through the city. It so smoothly transitions from cutscene to you controlling him as he's swinging through the city that right there hooked me from the very get-go. And like Dirt Sheet said earlier, with the insane combat, the boss battles, the skill tree system, the web swinging especially, I spent I don't know how many hours just swinging around. It's just so satisfying to web swing around the city. And on the PS4, unless you change your settings, the controller has the speaker on it, so every time you hit the web swing button, you hear the flip come out of your controller. So
Yeah, it was the coolest.
yeah, I mean,
It's even more insane on the PS5.
just on top of everything gameplay-wise that made you feel like you were Spider-Man, the story was excellent, the villains were excellent. They did the Sinister Six in a video game. I feel like they've done it before, but this time it was done excellently. If Insomniac follows the same formula and strikes gold another time with the upcoming Wolverine game, then that's just an absolute win in my book. So I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, Marvel's Spider-Man, if you've played it, you know how great it is. It may not be the best Spider-Man game of all time, but when it came out, it was so hyped up and really lived up to the hype, in my opinion. So that's why I made my number one console exclusive. Showtime?
My number one is Little Big Planet 2, which was exclusive to the PlayStation 3. And I played Little Big Planet 1 and I played Little Big Planet 2. And I played both of them with my wife. And we had such a fantastic time playing with these little sack people and just running through these platforming levels and collecting stickers and placing stickers, and just you have to play the game to understand. Little Big Planet is just a different animal. It's an adorable little game, but it can be as complicated as a much more sophisticated game. On a separate tier about that, it has a humongous community for user-created content, which I know Brad's like a big fan of that kind of but the user-created content on a Little Big Planet 2 is so just next level. Like, the things that people created on Little Big Planet 2, they could create entire games, like fighting games. I remember playing a fighting game that somebody created within Little Big Planet 2 that had like a bunch of PlayStation people and Microsoft people. I remember playing as Kevin Butler, which was like the spokesperson for the PlayStation commercials at the time. And I remember just having so much fun playing with my wife on this game. And I'll never forget those memories. And it is 100% the reason that I bought a PlayStation 3, was to play Little Big Planet.
That's what's so great about that entire series, is because, I mean, I have similar fond memories playing with my wife or my kids playing Little Big Planet 1 through 3, or it's just, as a series, is excellent. That's a great pick.
I feel like something that bothers me about Little Big Planet is the fact that it's such a great game and it gets talked about, but I feel like it doesn't get recognition it deserves because of how it carries itself. Like Showtime said, it seems like on the surface it looks like this childish, just casual, fun game, but it can be so complex and difficult. Like, especially some of the user-created content, there's some insane stuff that people sit down and design levels for hours and they're like, I want to make people hate their lives. And then other people are like, I want to hate my life. So you play this level and it's just miserable, but you enjoy doing it because it makes you feel something, disappointment, shame, whatever. Just fills the void, but it's so much fun, and there's so much that, it's such a fun, relaxing game that can just be taken to the next level, so versatile, and there's a massive community for it, but I just feel like it's a game that not a lot of people talk about or give recognition, because I forgot to put it on my list entirely, and so did Brad, so we suck. Yeah. But
it gets overlooked a lot, I feel, because in the platforming community, you just think of Mario, and then everything else.
Yeah.
But it's Little Big Planet right there. It's just as good as Mario and better in some aspects.
Agreed.
And then you think about user created content, it's like Fortnite, and then everything else. But no, like Little Big Planet is better than Fortnite in my opinion as far as user-created content goes. And then like couch co-op games, like you don't think about Little Big Planet for couch co-op games, but you should, because it's like right there. It's top tier couch co-op games. Play with 4 characters and just run through a level and just slap each other and grab each other. A Little Big Planet 2 has the grapple gun, and you go like grapple each other from across the screen and just drag each other back.
Well, they released a Little Big Planet on the PS5.
Oh, well,
yeah.
I gotta get a PS5.
So
That was like peak PlayStation for me. Little Big
Solid
Planet,
pick.
Infamous, and God of War. The only reasons I bought a PlayStation. And then I haven't played it in years. What do you got for number 1?
my number 1 is the other reason that you should have bought a PlayStation if you ever played this game. It was a PlayStation exclusive for a long time before being released to PC, but it was a huge deal when it got released to PC. It's Horizon Zero Dawn.
Never heard of her.
You fracking furt. But Horizon Zero Dawn was an incredible game. I feel like when you think of exclusives and you think of the war between Microsoft and Sony and like heavy hitting exclusives that each console have, you know, Horizon Zero Dawn is like top of the list for me for Sony because it is incredible. You play as Aloy in a world that is overrun by mechanical like beasts and machines, but humans have de-evolved back, so it's almost primitive. Like they run around in tribes and it's hunting and gathering, and you know, you have like this cavemen with wooden sticks and bows and arrows fighting mechanical dinosaurs. Like it's so cool. The map is massive. And I remember I had it on PlayStation and I played it for 35 hours, and then it got released on PC, and that was a huge deal. Like it was people on PC Master Race who have access to everything clamored for Horizon Zero Dawn for years. Finally gets released to PC. I get it on PC, and then I play it to that 35 hour mark again, having as much fun. Didn't advance past that. Then lost my PC, and then I got it back on console and finally beat it. So it took me 3 tries. 2 of the tries that I played to the exact same point in the game, but the third time I could still play to that point in the game and then beyond because it is that much fun. You can spend so much time on it. You can craft, you can build weapons, you can gather things, you can hunt. Like there's just so much to do, so many miscellaneous things you can do, and it's just absolutely wild. It is an absolutely incredible time, and that's why it's my number 1.
I've heard amazing things about it. I've not picked it up and tried it yet. Unfortunately, it almost sounds like if Ark had a like big if Ark was just like
if Ark had a story.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Like, but yeah, it's just, I think it's one of the best games ever.
It didn't even cross my mind for my list. I probably heard of it at some point, but I wouldn't have even considered it.
It's surprising the amount of people who have never played Horizon or have even heard of it for that matter. Like, or they've heard of Horizon Zero Dawn, but like, so like when I first heard of Horizon Zero Dawn, I thought it was some stupid shooter game, and then I watched the trailer, but because it just sounds like a dumb shooter. But then whenever you see the fan base for Horizon, which is a lot bigger than you think, oh god, are they dedicated. There are a bunch of stands. There's 2 types of people in this world. There's people who have never played the Horizon, and then there's people that have played Horizon for countless hours of their life and probably lost years to it. I fall in the latter.
So I believe that is gonna wrap it up. That's our thoughts, that's our lists for our favorite console exclusive video games. So if you guys have any more suggestions or just want to let us know what your favorite console exclusive games are, be sure to drop a comment, like this video, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until we see you next time on another video, stay tuned and stay dedicated.
I eat a lot of bad food, so...
Yeah, well, you're not morbidly obese.
I'm getting there.
Not even close.
Getting there.
Nah.
Say nice things about me.
Nice things about you.
Thank you.
You're pretty.
We are back with another top 5 discussion in the series where we take a...
We take a I'll have one large please. With a side of emotional trauma.
I heard that. That was a very dad thing to say. And what have you. You're so dad.
I'm ascending to my final form more and more every day.
The car, wheels falling off. He's talking about Twisted Metal. You're an idiot.
Idiot is I.
Like dilly with like dirt shit.
Dirt dilly
They are the definitive Halo game. Me and I don't know what's happening. I'm scared.
Brad went back to that point in his life when he played Halo 2 right there. Brad was on the voice chat like, oh, f your mom! You have Miles Morales. You bought it.
I did buy it.
You bought it for me to play it.
I did buy it for you to play it.
And I didn't get to.
I have a money spending problem.
We know this.
How nature works, right? Whenever it gets cold, electricity turns into ice.
Nope.
Like, that's how we have glaciers. Like a lightning bolt, and then it's really cold, so it just freezes into a glacier.
Yep, that sounds right.
I did a science.
I'm just a superhero nut for... That doesn't sound right.
Fred said I'm a superhero nut.
He said, I'm a superhero nut.
Nuts.